Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am O'Brien McMahon, and this is People Business. In this episode, I am joined by Coach Daniel Ratner, who is a relationship coach, speaker, and author, helping people build healthier connections by recognizing draining patterns and setting strong boundaries. A former entrepreneur turned professional growth expert, he is the author of Sunscreen Love, The 4 Phases to Find the Love You Want, and Never Feel Unloved Again, Symptoms and Strategies to Cure Low Self-Esteem. He is also the author of a third book, Emotional Vampires, which is really a lot of what we dive into here today, although we do go pretty deep on self-esteem as well. Through his coaching, books, and public talks, Daniel provides clear, practical tools for improving self-esteem, cultivating keepers, we talk about what that means, and creating relationships that fuel joy. I really like the vampire analogy. I won't spoil it too much, but we really do use that throughout. And I mentioned it in the beginning a little bit tongue in cheek, but it actually does play out all the way through the conversation. We complete a full arc going from the darkness of the vampire to stepping out into the light. So you'll have to listen to figure out what that means. But I hope you enjoy this. This is a great conversation on, one, recognizing the negative forces that are out there, two, protecting yourself against those, and then three, making sure that instead of being a negative force, we have the ability to choose to be a positive force out there in the world, in the workplace, and in all of the personal and professional relationships that we are a part of. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Here is Coach Daniel Ratner. Coach Ratner, welcome to the show. Excited to dive in today. In preparation for this, I read Bram Stoker's Dracula. I'm not kidding. Since we last spoke, I did read Dracula. I didn't even think about this conversation, but I was at my parents' house and they had Frankenstein up on the shelf. And I was like, I've never read Frankenstein. So I read that. And then Amazon was like, you might also like Dracula. And so I read Dracula. And then at the same time, I actually didn't even think about it, but at the same time, I was reading Emotional Vampires.
Okay.
And so whichever way we want to go at this conversation, I'm fully prepared.
I got it. They're not really vampires. It's just a cute term to call people that drain you for energy.
It is. That's what it is. And it's funny because in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the original Dracula, he doesn't turn someone into a vampire right away. We think in modern cinema, we see a vampire bite somebody and they immediately become a vampire. But in the original, Dracula came back night and night again and slowly sucked the life out of somebody and slowly transitioned them into a vampire, which is really more what you're talking about, which is
true.
These people that just suck the life force out of you. And eventually, if you're not careful, you become one of these vampires too.
Yeah, you do. You can actually. It's funny because I do have a chapter in the book called Are You an Emotional Vampire? And if someone says, I don't have any in my life, it's probably because you're a vampire. And it really can affect, especially, obviously, we have different relationships with our spouse and our family and our friends. But the workplace is a place where, man, toxicity can destroy a business. It will kill a business.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the saying, if you go about the course of your day and you run into one or two jerks, you've run into one or two jerks. If you go about the course of your day and everyone you meet is a jerk, you're the jerk.
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
So what is an emotional vampire? Let's start at the beginning and dive in.
So this vernacular came into my life because I teach a lot of classes. I coach a lot of students where I am. And we had a middle-aged lady who was divorced and wanted to get married. And my wife was working with her and talking with her over years and years. And we finally came to the determination that this person was a narcissist. And they were draining us of energy. I was happy when they left my house. They were taking hours of our time. And you can't fix a person like a dishwasher. It's not like you can call an appliance guy to come in and fix a heating element so suddenly it's working again. And sometimes people take many years of therapy, and we're not therapists, and that's not our job. And we want to help people. But if they're not going to make an effort to change, my wife says, you know what? I don't need them in my life. I have enough people in my life I have to take care of besides our kids and our family. And so she came up with the idea. The whole concept of the book came up because my wife wakes up one morning and says, I want to find the keepers in my life. And the word keeper is an acronym. And it means you have to get rid of 2 E's. And that's envy and ego, because you don't want them in your life. And you're left with 4 letters, and that's KPER. It stands for kind, peaceful, empathetic, and respectful. And if you can find people like that in your life, they're good to have. They're good to have as friends, and they're good to have as employees. I came with the whole idea of emotional vampires, and why it's so important in the business aspect is because when you're going to have many employees if you have a business, and everyone's got different idiosyncrasies and quirks, and once you understand which category they are as a vampire, you're going to be much more calm about it. You'll be much more respectful about it. You'll understand, oh, this is who they are as a person, and you'll be able to manage them and learn how to manage them better, especially in a business setting.
Yeah. So let's jump in and talk about narcissists, because I feel like that term gets thrown around a lot. And it's, oh, they're just a narcissist. And it's, I don't know, are they? It's one of those things, that person's a psychopath. And it's like, well,
Right.
wait a minute. Psychopathy has like a very specific clinical definition.
Yeah.
How should we think about narcissistic?
So there's something called NPD, which is the full-blown narcissist personality disorder. And there's people who have narcissist tendencies. Someone like myself, even in my 20s, when I was building my business, I probably had it. I had my ego, it was huge, and I thought it was great, and I did everything right, and it's fairly common. As I got older, I'm like, I don't want to be that kind of person. And I learned to not have those tendencies. And many people have the tendencies and are not full NPD. But the problem with the narcissist, and out of the 12 categories I use in the book, this is the most dangerous because this is the one that you don't realize. Narcissists can generally be charismatic, outgoing, they're people, and they love to take. And when someone is empathetic, which as a boss, you want to have people who are empathetic in your business, who want to give their time, their energy, focus on the purpose of the business, and they want to give themselves. And a narcissist smells them out like shark to a shark bait. And when they put their claws into them, they love bomb, the person falls in love with them. And next thing you're not in a relationship, you're in a manipulationship. And this can be very toxic in a workplace. It's obviously, it's much worse than a marriage, but that is really the worst kind of emotional vampires. There's books on this stuff, and I don't want to say I'm an expert on it, but I do have a major chapter in that book is on narcissism and how to recognize it and how to deal with it.
Yeah. And so I guess what are some of the red flags then?
So some of the red flags, now, again, most of my books are based on relationships, but one of the things you can do is when people have been in previous relationships, you can ask, why did they fail? Or why did they get fired from previous jobs? You can use in this situation too. When they blame somebody else and don't ever take responsibility, that is one way of doing it. When they say everyone else is crazy, there's something that's very funny. It's called the yawn test. Because when people yawn, you're at a table and like when one person yawns, everyone yawns because that's called oxytocin. It's like it's a bonding thing that we have. And people, supposedly, I don't know if it's true or not, people with narcissism don't produce oxytocin. And so what happens is when you yawn, they don't yawn. And in that situation, you might be better off being alone than with someone like that.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is I read that in the book and I was like, oh, good. Because I definitely am someone who will yawn at the table.
Yeah, look at it. I don't know how scientifically proved that is. The purpose of the book is that you have people in your life, your friends, and most of your friends came from an event or circumstance. And you have to determine, who do I need in my life? Why are they here? Do I have to have them in my life? Is the price of admission worth it?
Yeah.
Obviously, in a business, you have a boss, you have no choice. So how do I make that relationship healthy? How can I work on this relationship to make sure? And I think once you recognize that this person, okay, I put them in this category, that you can actually handle them much better internally, emotionally, when you understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. And so I guess, how do we do that? Let's say we have somebody above us or somebody in the workplace that we have to work with. We have no control over, but they're showing some of these tendencies, right? They're manipulative. It's all about them. They're willing to throw someone under the bus. Like, how do we set the right boundaries with those types of people so that we can be productive?
So one way is to use, an example I use in the book is I had a client who is a narcissist and they're tough to deal with. And I figured out that narcissists love attention and they love being complimented. Right? They love to know how great they are. So I started complimenting them. I started what amazing they are. And guess what? Next thing I know, they're calling me with more deals, more business because they love the fact. And I use it against them. And that's one way to figure out what is going to feed my boss if it's your boss. Listen, we all have egos and we all want to be right. I don't want to accept my boss. You don't have to, right? But if you want to play the game and move forward in your business, you might have to do that, unfortunately. So if you play into their game, play the part that they want you to play, you can move up in that, and hopefully you don't have one forever. Usually that comes back to bite them when you have a boss who's an egomaniac, or hopefully not always, but it's going to come back to bite them eventually. But some of the categories are not so dangerous, like drama queens. That's a person who's at the water cooler in the morning talking about their weekend escapades. And I like to be what's called drama adjacent. I don't want to be married to one, but I don't mind coworkers. Okay, they show a lot of drama. It's okay. It's not hurtful.
Yeah.
You have nonstop talkers, and you have the overly dependent, which can be hard in a business relationship when someone's always asking you for help in something. Hopefully you can help them to become dependent themselves. You have boundary crossers. I talk about also terrible twos and teenagers, because if you have kids, they can be tough also.
Yeah.
But really the point of the book is to make my relationships healthy. And I just give some practical advice, nothing earth shattering, but it's a funny book. And so far everyone's read it has really enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. One more thing on narcissists before we move. You mentioned drama queens, which was the second thing I was going to bring up. So narcissists, you mentioned their charm.
Yes.
And that they can be very charming and they can love bomb people. And so it seems like narcissists are often very good at grooming people before they flip.
They can be, yes. Yeah.
And so how do we protect ourselves against that? Like, we all want to be respected and loved, and we want people to esteem us. And so as others are doing this to us, it can feel really good. I don't want everyone to walk around super jaded, right? Oh, that person gave me a compliment. Are they a narcissist? Are they just grooming me? Like, that's not a healthy society to live in, but we also need to protect ourselves, right?
I think that since the advent of social media, that there's a lot more narcissism showing up now because we're self-absorbed. And I think that is, people say, why is this big? I think because it's showing itself more. I think that's my reasoning. When we don't have social media, you have to interact with people and not just internet. And I think one way to do that is not feed into them. So what they're looking for is emotional energy. So when you talk back to them or you criticize them, that's just feeding them. So the best way to do it is to really be what I call bland. Give answers like, I see. Oh, I'll have to think about that. I'll take that under advisement. Just so you're not feeding them anything that they can use against you. If you stay silent, they can't use anything against you, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes when you're talking, less is more. It gives less ammunition for them to use against you. Just like, when you're negotiating something with a business, whatever, sometimes saying less is better because whatever you say can be used against you sometimes, especially obviously if you get arrested, if they be careful what you say, because everything you say can get used against you.
One other thing that I've seen too is watching for consistency in behavior, or I guess watching behavior patterns of people. So if somebody is love bombing you, but they're not love bombing other people, something's probably up. If somebody is coming to you and with all this flowery language and they're so warm and inviting, but then you see them be very cold with other people,
they want
it's
something
like,
for you.
Yeah, it's like watching how people treat servers at restaurants, right?
I assume
that
you're
can be very
talking
telling.
about, not in a romantic way, but in a business relationship. I assume you're talking about that, like not.
Yeah, relationships are relationships. So not an intimate relationship.
I totally, because I know in situations, people have told me, oh, that guy treats you differently than he treats me. And because either they respect someone differently than somebody else, which means they're higher on the social ladder or have more money or can be a bigger client. Again, you're in business, right? I think you're in the insurance business, right?
Correct.
So when you have if you have I don't know what type of insurance you do, but let's say you're insuring things that really are hard to get insurance for. I think it's called Kinsale is the name of the company. Anyway, you're going to treat a client who has a lot of potential business much different than someone who's got a small little store.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you are. You're going to show them much more attention, much more, because it's a business.
But here's the difference, I think, is you're going to show them much more attention because they're a client and you have to show your clients attention, right? Like they're your market. But it's how do you treat the people? If you are treating the smaller company poorly and you are treating your client lovingly, you're probably a manipulator.
You are.
Right? You can still treat the small person well, even if you're not giving them attention.
Yeah. When I'm giving relationship advice and you have a couple dating, and if a guy is not treating the waiter very nicely, I go, that is not a guy you want to go out with. I treat everyone. I respect every single person. And one of the things that I've learned is that I can learn something from every single person. Even the guy who's at the grocery store doing checkout. I can learn something from that. My ego's not that big. I'm not that smart, right? Okay, I can learn something from every single person. So I think that really in relationships, especially business relationships, your ego is not your amigo. It'll kill you in relationships, in business. And people want to deal with people who are kind. Again, keepers who are kind, peaceful, empathetic, and respectful. If you have those kind of things, these are good. These are great employees.
Yep.
Besides spouses.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's just good to pay attention to people's patterns of behavior. And not that you have to be really grilling everybody or hyper vigilant about anybody, but just when you see people treating others differently than they're treating you, it's just, you might want to pay attention to that person.
I don't know if it's in this book or not. It might be. I judge everyone to the good. Everyone I meet in my life, I judge them positively. Now, if they say something to me that hurts me, they want to hurt me, I think to myself, hurt people, right? You have an employee who's disrespecting someone in the office or being mean to them, it's because they hurt themselves. And so I try to feel sorry for them. And I look at them as one chapter in the book. They're chapter 25. I don't know what happened in the first 24 chapters, nor do I know what's going to happen in the last 25 chapters. They could have come from dysfunction. They have an abusive relationship and they don't know how to deal with people. They don't know how to respect people. They don't know how to be kind to people. And because of that, I'm like, maybe I can help them. And maybe someday they'll turn out to be a great person. Maybe they'll change or they'll transform themselves. And when people can transform themselves, they can do great things. And you have a lot of people who are jerks when they're like even young. How many guys, I don't know if you went to college, but guys in college who are just not nice. And next thing they're amazing fathers and husbands and PTA presidents. And like, they transform themselves. And I tell people, I teach this in all my classes all the time. And it's a great lesson. The only difference between animals and humans is that animals, their soul's different, but really they don't have a language we do. They do communicate, but not the same as we do. And they live on instinct. Now, we also have instinct, but we can control our instinct. O'Brien, you're able to go to the dinner table tonight and use a knife and a fork. You're not going to use your hands, right? Mm-hmm. You can train yourself to use those. Can you imagine a husband coming home from work and he goes, I slept with my secretary. And the wife goes, oh, that's okay. It's just her instincts. No, we can become better people. We can improve ourselves. We can become better employees. We can train ourselves to not speak until we thought about what we're going to say.
Yep.
Right. And this is the key in the office environment. When people just react to something without thinking about it, they cause arguments and they cause toxicity in the office. And this is a thing in my marriage. I think before I say anything in my marriage now. I think, should I say it? It's not the right time to say it. I should say it a different day. Should someone else say it? And I think about these things before I get in. And this is why we have not gotten, for years now, we've not gotten arguments. It's unbelievable. Listen, I was not like this early on. I'm 60 years old now. It's taken me 24 years of marriage to get to the point now where I can say I have an amazing marriage.
Yeah, you definitely got to work through some of that stuff. My wife and I communicate much better now, 10 years on, than we did when we first started.
Oh, yeah. You had no idea what you're doing. You had no idea.
Yeah. Oh, wait, the way I said that or the timing I said that?
No, just not you in general. I'm thinking in general, most of us have no idea.
No, definitely me, but also everybody else. Yeah.
I wish I could have taught myself about business back when I was in my 20s. I'd be so much different now. I had no idea what I was doing. And also in relationships.
Yeah. I think that's an important thing to remember too. What you said, everybody's somewhere on their learning journey of all this stuff. And some people intuitively learn it early and are exposed to it early. And some people learn it much later. But that's where I think, like in the business world, we often see people who are behaving in ways we don't like. And we think, oh, they're bad people. Not, oh, we need to train people. We need to retrain those people on how to behave in this environment. This is how we behave. This is how we treat other people. And often, especially young people, just they need coaching on that. It's not just, oh, this young person is not a hard worker. It's no, we need to teach them what it means to be a hard worker. Yeah. And then if that doesn't jive with them, okay, maybe they need to go find a job somewhere else. But I think we often stop short of being willing to express, like, people like us do things like this and train people into be what that is.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of young people that aren't hard workers and they have to get fired from 2, 3, 4 jobs where they're like, you know what? I need to get up at 5 in the morning now and actually be serious about life. It's only when they hit like they call rock bottom that they finally become serious in life. Unless they have, obviously there's emotional issues going on, which I'm sure unfortunately, that's one of the big tests in companies is making sure that someone, just like in getting married, you want to make sure someone is emotionally happy, emotionally healthy and happy, both.
Yeah.
You bring a toxic person to your workplace, man, it's tough.
Yeah. Let's jump back into that. Let's talk about drama queens. We all know the drama queens. I feel like being a drama queen is often based in a victim mindset. Like it's people who just look at the world for the things that are going wrong. Is that fair to say? Or
No,
would you
because I
say it
have
differently?
a category called the victim.
Okay.
These are people who play the victim card. These are
So
people
you
who
see those
blame.
differently.
I think that drama queens are, when I think of drama queens, I used to be in chorus and plays and musicals. And I think of the drama queens are like, the guys who are just singing and dancing a lot and who oversell everything. They're the ones who get stuck on a plane. If they're flying through Denver and they get stuck up on the snow for 7 hours. Like, oh my gosh, I was stuck in Denver for 7 hours. The worst thing. And they overplay everything, and the traffic's the worst. The food's the best. Everything's the greatest or the worst.
Extremes. Yeah.
Extremes. And they're oversharing everything on social media. Like, it's the best restaurant ever. And again, they're not dangerous. They just made drain some people of energy. But the person who plays the victim card never takes responsibility for themselves. They blame everything on everybody else. They're the ones who always blame the boss for the work. They don't blame the coworkers. Never take responsibility. And this person is going to go nowhere in life. And they really can drain you of energy because they play the victim card. Nothing's their fault. Nothing. And by the way, that person can cross over into many other categories. In fact, some of them all do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is there a good way to snap people out of that you found?
Oh, playing the victim mindset?
Yeah.
I think having some healthy people in their life, emotionally healthy people that take responsibility when they have someone to emulate. And this is a serious thing, especially in relationships, that if you have no one to emulate, if you don't have someone healthy to follow, to guide them, are good great parents that have a great marriage, you're going to have a harder time. And I think I have someone in my life who's a victim, plays the victim card his whole life. He's been married 3 times. I remember I went to his first wedding, and he invited me to a second wedding. And I said to him, you know what? I'll go to your third wedding. I said it seriously. And he got a third wedding and got divorced again. He's made millions 2 or 3 times. He's one of those guys that goes to Vegas and cashes in for $10,000 cash with a credit and plays the big shot. Hey, can I have a drink? Can I have a cigar? Can I have tickets to the show? Big shot. He loves it. And he's a combination narcissist, but he plays the victim card. And now he's 64 years old. He has to work paycheck to paycheck. He has very little relationship with his kids. And he's a mess because he never took responsibility. He was always in lawsuits. This is the clue. People who are always suing people are playing the victim card. And of course, if you're in business, you have to be careful when you fire someone, right? Because they're going to say, oh, well, it's not my fault. They fired me for the wrong reason. And they play the victim and they fire. And it's so hard in business now to find employees that are not going to play that victim card. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I struggle with some of these because I have been historically very quick to write people off. Growing up, I had a lot of people burn me, and like personality changes quickly, and it set me up to be a little bit jaded. And I would very quickly, if you showed me negative colors, I would just be like, okay, great. We don't need to do anything anymore. I can just cut you out. I have worked very hard to rebound from that. I now try to help people because I like coaching. I like people to be the best versions of themselves. And so I'm willing to lean in with people and do the work and try to help them. But I struggle with this because there's a group of people who can and will, and there's a group of people who just won't. It's just too hard to do.
Sure.
And I struggle to find that balance of like when to know somebody can be changed and let's invest some time to do this, and when to just be like, I don't think this is working out.
Oh, some people, I really believe, and I know a lot of people disagree with me on this one. I think there's some people who can't change. And a lot of my teaching is about dating and marriage. I believe there are some people who are not capable of being married. I just think that, is there some for everyone? No, there's not. They're going to get married, and next thing you know, they're going to do. I believe it's not capable of being in a relationship. And I think there are also some people who are not capable of being in a healthy work environment. They're just too toxic. Can you fix them? Can you help them? My wife said that narcissism takes 7 years of major therapy in order to overcome NPD. But the problem is, even to get to that point, they have to admit that they have a problem.
Yeah.
Which is the hardest
step.
Which is the hardest step, which you never do. And I teach classes on self-esteem, and I talk about you have to forgive the source of whatever's causing you pain in your life. And if you can't forgive the source, you're going to have a hard time moving on. And some people don't want to take responsibility. So they're just going to keep the same thing going on ever. And there's certain people you can't fix. And one of the pleasures I get about coaching and teaching is that I say, I'm not here to be liked. You don't have to like me. I'm here to help you and to make you great, help you have a passionate, loving relationship, help you in business if I can. And sometimes I have to tell things that you don't like. And I tell people things they don't like. I've had people walk out in their own classes and they come back to me 10 minutes later, next thing they're coaching with me for an hour. They didn't like it. It hurts. Because sometimes the truth hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to dive into this too. I think I have a belief that in order for people to be the most successful, or for us to be able to reach our potential, we have to be able to, on the one hand, esteem ourselves and feel good about ourselves so that we can get out there and put ourselves out there. And at the same time, we also have to be humble, and we have to be willing to look at our faults and those things that are really hard for us to admit, those painful truths about ourselves. And I've said on here before, like one of the hardest exercises I've done, there was like a 2-year period where I just tried, the mantra I had over and over again was, anytime I started to get upset with somebody else, I would think, what about this is my fault? And it was so painful to do over and over again. So painful, because I'm mad at them for something, and then to sit there and go, oh wait, it's actually me, and the shame and humility of the way that I acted. And it's so painful. And I know that I'm like at the extreme end of willing to work on myself. Yeah. And a lot of people, it's just too much. Like we talked about with the narcissist, like it's just too much. It's too painful to admit this stuff. So as you're building self-esteem in people, like how do we build self-esteem in ourselves so that it's a little bit easier to look at those painful truths?
I think when you have something to rely your happiness on that's not your work or your spouse, like I said, I don't believe low self-esteem exists. I think it's the absence of light in your life, because like darkness is not a color, it's just black, right? The speed of light is, 186,000 miles per second. And the speed of darkness doesn't exist. It doesn't move. It doesn't exist. I think if you have light in your life, something that brings you joy, something that you can rely your happiness on that's not your job or your spouse, I think you can handle other people better. And you mentioned about losing your temper. This has been a game changer for me, and it may not be for you and then your listeners, but I've become much more spiritual and religious as I've gotten older. When someone is causing me pain or causing me to get angry, again, we talked about instinct. I'm losing control of myself when I get angry. Right? You get red and you get angry. I'm losing control of myself, which means I'm not controlling my instincts. And the way I look at it is that everything that happens to me, every person in my life is there for me to learn from. I say, God throws this person in my life, there's a reason why. I'm supposed to learn something from it, to control my anger, or whatever it is. And I say, and I teach my students this, that when you get angry, you're basically saying, again, this is more spiritual, that God, you made a mistake. This person shouldn't be in my life. And since I believe God doesn't make mistakes, I'm like, no, this person's in my life for a reason. I better not get angry and figure out why they're in my life and figure out how to manage this person. And this is what kind of like my books are about, managing relationships with dating and marriage, managing relationships with yourself, and now managing relationships with both coworkers and friends and family. And family is the worst one, by the way. As far as emotional vampires, the biggest category that people to deal with is brothers, sisters, and parents.
Yeah.
That's the biggest category.
We
won't employees.
Yeah, we won't jump into that here. That's a whole separate show. But talking a little bit more about self-esteem. So having something in your life outside of your intimate relationships and your work, what would examples of those things be? Is this just have a hobby?
I think hobbies are amazing.
Okay.
I support all my kids' hobbies. I don't care if they switch. Some kids will take a violin for 3 months and they quit. I don't care. Let them find something that brings them light into life that they enjoy. And I see kids now, I teach a lot of kids who are between 19 and early mid-20s. And the kids that don't have anything, they're struggling. And the kids that like to write, and the kids that, they love to take pictures, and there's kids that, that write music and play guitar and play piano, they're happier people. Even if they're struggling to find a spouse, they're still happier people because they have something to rely on that's not based on a relationship or a job. And in my self-esteem book, I give 14 different categories of ways of improving your self-esteem. And again, one of them is forgiving the source, whatever it is that made you happy. But hobbies are great. Exercise is obviously a great thing that people have. I talk about, one of the categories I talk about is rejection therapy. Go out and get rejected. I tell people just go out and say hi to everyone on the street. People will be funny. It doesn't matter. It gives you build confidence in who you are as a person.
I can't remember if it was this book talking about rejection therapy. I forget where I saw this, but it was something about happier people talk to other people more. It can work both ways. Like, you don't have to be happy to go out and talk to people, but by going out and talking to people in your community will make you a more content person.
I actually think, and I've gone through this in one of my older books. I don't even know if it's up on Amazon anymore. I talk about what is our purpose for life. I think our purpose is giving. So I remember one time I wasn't feeling great. I went to Starbucks and there was a guy in front of me buying a coffee. And I said, let me buy his coffee for him. It's a few dollars at the time. And I made some guy's day and it made me happy. So I'm doing it for somebody else, but I do it for myself also, obviously. And I remember I was driving through the New Jersey Turnpike. This is back before fast tolls and you had to actually pay the toll booth guy. And I said, pay for the guy in back of me. I was going to the Delaware Memorial Bridge. It's like $3.75. I paid for 2 guys. And I drive off. I look back. Yeah, thank you. I'm like, it made my day. It cost me a few dollars. It cost me nothing. Think about what a therapist costs. It made my day. And now I use as examples in my classes that when you give to the people, it makes you feel happy as a person.
Yeah.
So I think
and it doesn't need to cost you anything. You could give a compliment.
Oh,
hey,
yes.
I love that hat. Hey, you look great. Have you seen the guy on Instagram he's probably on TikTok too, who does polite catcalling?
No, I don't watch I actually watch very little social media.
This guy's great. There's actually a couple versions of this. There's some people who go out into party areas and catcall to girls and guys, but compliment them, give them compliments. And then there's another guy who's British and he wears really fancy clothes and he goes down and he compliments people as he walks by them. And in both scenarios, you see these people light up. And it's so funny to watch a 21-year-old attractive woman get catcalled and then hear it and then light up and be like, oh yeah, thanks. And you can see it makes them feel so good. And it's like, I've found that if I go to, again, let's take the Starbucks. If I'm at a coffee shop or I'm somewhere and I just say something nice to the person across the counter, I suddenly feel so much better.
You can change the world. I tell my kids, it's your job to change the world, not the world change you. We have so much effect on people. And when I'm in a good mood and I'm at an airport, like I'm traveling a lot recently, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? How you doing? I say hi to people. I am so much happier. They're happier. I can change the world just with how I interact with other people. Because I've gone through some health issues recently. And when you don't feel good, forget about it. You don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
But when I'm feeling better, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a happy person and I want to share my happiness with other people. And so when I tell students who are going through some low self-esteem, just go to the main street and start saying hi to everyone. Hey, how's it going? Hey, I like your shirt. I like your shoes. Whatever it is, start saying hi to people. And it really builds confidence and changes how you view the world. And when you're happier, everyone around you is going to be a happier person. And people want to be around happy people. As you know, they have what's called Glassdoor, I think. Where's a good place to work? People want to work where people are happy.
Yeah. I like your analogy of light and dark too, because I think if we go back to the vampire analogy, right? Dracula operates in the dark.
Yes.
And if you play that out with this concept of emotional vampires, it is people who are sucking the light out of the room, right? And at work, it's people who are sucking the light out of that environment. And I think we all have the ability to infuse light back into our workplaces or our world in general. We've been talking about social lives out in the world in public, but I think it applies to work too. I think if you walk in and you bring that energy into the next meeting that you go to and you walk in and, hey, I love those shoes. Hey, what's going on over here?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, I love how you're doing this. Hey, I love the energy you brought on that last meeting. Like, you can see people light up. We had to swap out account executives on one of my clients. We had some new people come into the client.
Okay.
Personalities didn't quite jive. So we brought in a new person that I thought would align better. I didn't know this, but that new person apparently was like pacing in her apartment before the initial call, was super nervous, didn't want to screw this up. We had our company party the other night and I saw her and I went right up and I said, hey, you did exactly what I was hoping you would do on that call. You crushed it. That was great. And you could see her light up. You could see all the relief come off of her. And I felt great because she felt great. And it was suddenly we were like hugging and having this fun conversation. And you can bring that to work meetings. I think we don't realize the positive energy we can bring.
I tell my kids that when they go into a workplace, I go, it's very important that you're boss and your coworkers like you. I go, when you hear people like getting fired and they complain, oh, I only got fired for some stupid reason. The reason why they got fired, even it might have been a stupid reason, but the reason they got fired because they didn't bring energy to the workplace. And the boss, they weren't bringing a positive vibe. And guess what? You do something and the boss doesn't really like you that much anyway. He's going to find an excuse. But if they like you, if you bring that positive energy, if you're the guy that's complimenting people and bringing light to your meetings, that boss is going to find any way to keep you around.
Yeah.
I just got invited to a fundraising event for an organization last year in Miami. I'm one of the donors, not a big donor, a small donor. And I went to this event and they had a lot of speakers. I was like, the audience clapping, yeah, laughing. I'm a loud laugher, laughing loud. And I actually talked to some of the other big donors that were there because I teach for this organization and they doubled their gift. I didn't ask them to go, but I know that after talking to me, I actually flew with 2 of the donors on their private jet from LA to Miami. And when they landed, they doubled their gift. They gave a 6-figure gift the year before, and they doubled it to another huge gift. And so about a few days ago, they're running another event in Miami in a few weeks. And they go, Coach, we really want you to come to this event. But the point is, they want me there because I bring energy to the room. I bring a positive energy to the room. I judge everyone positively, and that's good to have in your workplace.
So I love this. I try to think about, like, in this show, what would the naysayers say to some of the stuff that we're talking about? And not that these people would be naysayers, but there's a group of people out there who are a little more introverted to get up like they're not naturally up like that.
That's okay.
Bringing tons of energy into a meeting. What are the things they can do that still allows them to show up and create that positive energy or bring that light into a room?
They can bring intellectual energy. They can bring thoughts. They can bring ideas. They can bring concepts. They can think of things that maybe other people can't think of. Just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you can't be positive. Doesn't mean you can't smile. Yeah, it's right. It doesn't cost anything to smile. Oh my gosh. Have you heard of RBF?
Yes.
What that is? Okay.
Yes.
So I've coached some
resting unhappy face.
You have to say that, right? And people have that. And like when you have great teeth, right? And I've gotten big. It's funny. I never had braces. And in about,
God bless you.
Yeah, I know. 3 years ago, I looked at my pictures. 5 years ago, I had straight teeth. 3 years ago, my teeth were starting to get crooked right here. And as a speaker and a teacher, I said, you know what? I don't like this. It bothers me. When I see other people who are speakers have bad teeth, when they're older, they lose persuasiveness. In fact, if you look at all the big speakers in the world, they're all good looking. They're all tall. They all have great. Go to any social media person. They're beautiful. You don't have some short 5'3" guy who's 20 pounds overweight becoming a big speaker because we want to see people who are good looking. It's a fact of life.
Yeah.
So our teeth represent us. And so I got Invisalign. I never thought I'd do this. I got Invisalign. So I wore it for 12 weeks and that's all I do. I wear it at night.
Yeah. I did that as an adult too. I had braces as a kid. And then I noticed I have big front teeth, and then the teeth next to them were starting to tuck behind. And I just noticed in pictures, I just didn't like the way it was starting to look. And so my wife, when we first got married, she went on the road for 18 months. And I was like, this is a perfect time to do it.
Months?
She was in a touring Broadway show.
Oh, exciting. What show?
An American in Paris.
Oh my God. George Gershwin.
Yes.
Oh, great musical, 1930s.
So my wife was a professional ballet dancer and had worked with the director before, and then found out that there were auditions in Chicago and went and auditioned and wound up getting a role. And so she went on tour, and so we got married 3 months later. She went on tour, and in our first 24 months of marriage, she was gone for 18 months.
Oh my God. At least sometimes they say the heart grows fonder when you're married. It's actually, I know I have relationships. I know it in my business that people, it's like, if I didn't travel, I wouldn't be married. It's sometimes okay to go away. Sometimes it's hard.
All I have to say is thank God for FaceTime and a flexible job.
Yeah, FaceTime is amazing. When I travel, I FaceTime. That usually is once in the morning with my wife, but it's good to go away sometimes.
It is, definitely.
Especially if you work at home. If you work at home, you're at home all the time.
Yeah. I listened to Esther Perel. You know who she is?
I don't follow anybody, but go ahead.
Okay. So she is a sex therapist, intimacy relationship therapist.
Right.
And I remember she does a bunch of speaking on relationships. And I remember she would say that oftentimes we get into a relationship and we're an individual and we look at another individual and we are like, wow, I really like that other individual. And then we come together as one, and then we form our identity as that one thing. But what we actually liked about the person was their individuality.
Individuality, sure.
And
Yeah.
so she says the healthiest relationships are ones where you choose to come together and then you also then choose to split apart, not break up, but to allow the individuality to come back in so that you can then look across and see the other person as an individual and then choose them again. And it's that constant individuality and choosing that really strengthens relationships. And I've seen that to be true in my relationships. But that's one of those things I always go back to. I think it's important to be able to step away. I think that's true with jobs and bosses and stuff. Like sometimes you got to step away and be like, oh, you know what? This is a pretty good workplace.
Right.
Now I'm going to go back and be engaged.
It's a little similar to myself. I talk about self-esteem. It's having something in your life that brings you joy. That's not relying on your spouse or your work. That's the thing. I remember when I was building my business and I didn't have a lot of business. I complained, I was on the business. And then suddenly I'm swamped with business. I'm killing it, make a lot of money. Oh my gosh, I'm too busy. And like, you're never happy. You want the business and you have too much business, you can't handle it. And then you have no business, you want the business. So there's never that happy medium because when you're just doing average business, you want more business, right? So you have to be happy where you are in your business. That's a very key, wherever you are in your business. Like right now, gold and silver is going crazy. Gold just hit $5,000 now. I'm not a full-time coin dealer anymore, but I was full-time. I'd be so busy, like crazy busy. But it's okay. I just dabble in it. I just do it part-time now and I make a little bit of money and that's what I do now.
Yeah.
This is my passion. My passion is teaching and writing and making passionate, loving relationships. That's what I want to do.
I love it. And I think that goes back to what we've been talking about for the last 10 or 15 minutes here. You can complain about something at any point. You can complain about your personal life. You can complain about your work. You can complain about your health. You can complain like something will not be going the way you want it to. You're too busy. You're not busy enough. We can always find a way to complain, or we can find the things that are going well. We can compliment other people. We can bring a positive energy. And I think it's important to remember that we have that choice.
Yes. It's a choice. Happiness is a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coach Ratner, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I think we started in the dark and we ended in the light. And I like how this conversation went. Anything we didn't hit that you think would be important, or any final message that you want to share with folks?
I think some final messages is that I'm going to say like the average Fortune 500 company in America spends something like I think it's $150 million a month on consultants. It's a lot of money. And the reason why, because it helps their bottom line. And when do people who are going into relationships, who are going through jobs, who are going through life change, when do they get help? When things are falling apart. When you're married, you only get a coach or a marriage counselor when things are falling apart. Don't wait until things are falling apart. I believe it's very important to have people around you who are wise, someone like yourself who has wisdom, who can coach and help guide people, who gives good answers, and someone to emulate. And I think our happiness is really going to come in jobs, anywhere it's going to be, when we start giving ourselves to other people. When you start, like I always say, persuasion, like when you leave someone with something of value, that makes you persuasive in life. And it helps when you're obviously trying to get clients and that kind of thing. But I think our happiness is within ourselves. We have to control it. And the reason why I wrote Emotional Vampire is because you have to put a fence around your happiness, keep people out that drain you of energy, and keep people in that make you happy. Obviously, in a business environment, you don't always have that choice. You have to learn how to make those relationships happy. And there's a way to do it. I put in my book, Emotional Vampires. I also have a book on self-esteem called Never Feel Unloved Again, and a book on dating and marriage called Sunscreen Love. And these are all available on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, pretty much everywhere, I think. And they can listen to some of these concepts on my podcast, the Coach Ratner podcast, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple.
And we will link to all of that in the show notes below. This has brightened up my day, so thank you for bringing some light to my day.
I do this for free. The books you have to pay for, but I've given away, where I teach in the city, 1,000 books of Never Feel Unloved Again, and almost 1,000 books of Sunscreen Love. And my wife says I'm a little mini celebrity here now because everyone has my books. All the girls, 22-year-old, they all have my books, and they all like, Coach Ratner, Coach Ratner. So I'm like a little bit outside where I am now. Obviously, no one knows me, but my concepts are pretty good, and I really have good clarity on what it means to be in relationships, understanding people. I really should become a psychologist. Is what I should do.
Yeah. I mean, there's a topic there that we haven't really dove into today, which is creating community. And I think that's where we've talked a lot about one-on-one relationships, but I think you build enough one-on-one relationships, you really build some community, and that's where the stuff really gets strengthened. I hope this has brought light to everybody out there listening as well. It's good to check yourself, make sure you're not a vampire. and then go out and be, because we all have a little bit of that in us
Yes.
at our worst moments, myself included. I can feel it as well. It's just important to embrace the light, not the darkness. Good luck out there, everybody. I encourage you to go check out those books. And Coach Ratner, thank you again for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Hey folks, one last thing before you go. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with future guests. That's it. Thanks for coming. Go make the most of your business and the people in it.